BTS news today. There's something endlessly fascinating about watching two people grow up in front of the world's eyes. For BTS's Jimin and Jungkook, that growth has been not only artistic but deeply human, a transformation that reflects friendship, competition, admiration, and unspoken understanding. Over the years, what began as the lighthearted bond of two young trainees in a cramped practice room has matured into one of the most layered and captivating relationships in the K-pop industry. When they first met, Jimin was the older trainee, 19 at the time, while Jungkook was barely 15, quiet, shy, and still unsure of how to express himself. Jimin, despite being new to Big Hit himself, naturally took on the role of an older brother figure. In several early clips, he's seen teasing Jungkook gently, encouraging him to eat more, and watching over him during long hours of practice. Jungkook was so quiet at first, Jimin once recalled with a small smile during a Run BTS episode. He wouldn't even talk to us much. But then he started opening up, and that's when everything became fun. The dynamic between the two was shaped by contrast. Jimin was expressive, emotional, and always wearing his heart on his sleeve. Jungkook, on the other hand, was introspective, self-disciplined, and often hard on himself. Their differences created a natural balance, but also occasional tension, the kind of tension that only deep relationships can survive. As BTS began to gain popularity, those dynamics became visible to fans who watched the evolution of Jungkook. The affectionate nickname fans coined to describe their friendship unfold like a coming-of-age story in real time. The early years, between brotherhood and rivalry, the early days of BTS were a storm of exhaustion, ambition, and shared dreams. Jimin, with his background in contemporary dance, was known for his perfectionism and for practicing until his body couldn't move. Jungkook, who entered the company as a golden trainee, felt the pressure to live up to expectations. "When I first met Jimin Hyung, I wanted to catch up to him," Jungkook said once. "He was so passionate, and I wanted to be like that too." That mix of admiration and competitiveness became the foundation of their bond. Jimin often pushed Jungkook to express himself more freely, while Jungkook, driven by quiet determination, inspired Jimin to never stop improving. Fans could sense the energy between them, playful yet intense, brotherly yet charged with a unique emotional current that felt different from anything else in the group. INTHYYH, the most beautiful moment in life. Era. Their chemistry reached new artistic depth. On stage, their choreography often intertwined, not just in synchronized movements, but in subtle emotional gestures. There was a kind of silent trust there, Jimin leading Jungkook through an expressive moment, Jungkook catching Jimin's gaze and grounding him in return. In performances like Butterfly and Lie, that mutual reliance was palpable, a mirror of their growing maturity both as performers and as people, growing in different directions. Yet together as the years passed, both artists began to carve distinct paths. Jimin evolved into a performer known for vulnerability and grace, infusing his art with emotion that transcended technical precision. Jungkook, meanwhile, became the embodiment of versatility, a vocalist, dancer, and creative mind capable of carrying any stage. Their personalities, though still complementary, matured in separate ways. But rather than drifting apart, this divergence deepened their connection. "We don't always say everything, but we understand each other," Jimin once said in an interview. "Sometimes Jungkook will just look at me and I know what he's thinking. It's strange, but comforting." In the quieter behind-the-scenes footage, fans could see glimpses of that understanding, a hand on the shoulder, a small smile during rehearsal, a shared laugh after a long day. The energy between them was less about words and more about presence. Jungkook often expressed his affection through actions, sharing food, waiting for Jimin after shoots, or subtly adjusting choreography so their movements matched perfectly. For Jimin, the bond became something of an anchor. During moments of self-doubt, he often mentioned how Jungkook's steadiness reminded him to keep going. Conversely, Jungkook has repeatedly described Jimin as someone who gives him warmth, a source of encouragement when things become overwhelming. The transition to adulthood the last few years have seen both Jimin and Jungkook come into their own, not as the youngest and his older teammate, but as equals. As BTS entered their second decade as a group, that shift became evident in their solo projects. Jimin's face showcased emotional vulnerability, while Jungkook's golden embraced confidence, independence, and creative exploration. Yet, even in their solo journeys, the thread connecting them remained visible. Jungkook often mentioned Jimin's support during the making of his album. During one live stream, he even shared how Jimin came to visit him late at night in the studio just to listen to demos and give honest feedback. "He told me to trust myself," Jungkook said softly. That meant a lot. When Jimin released Like Crazy, Jungkook was one of the first to publicly congratulate him, posting his reaction online with proud admiration. And later, when Jungkook performed Standing Next to You, Jimin shared it with a single heart emoji, subtle but telling. Their dynamic has matured into one of quiet mutual respect. The once playful teasing has transformed into something deeper, a friendship that carries years of shared history, unspoken gratitude, and mutual growth. What makes their relationship so resonant part of what captivates fans about Jimin and Jungkook's evolving dynamic is its authenticity. Unlike media-manufactured narratives, their connection feels raw and organic. They don't perform their bond for the camera, they simply exist within it. There's also a universal quality to their story. They represent something that resonates beyond fandom. The idea of growing up alongside someone who challenges you, supports you, and witnesses your transformation. In the intensity of BTS's world, where fame, pressure, and expectations can isolate even the strongest, their relationship serves as a reminder that genuine connection still thrives. Experts in the K-pop industry often note that longevity in groups like BTS is sustained by emotional intelligence, trust, and communication. Jimin and Jungkook's friendship embodies that balance. "You can tell they've learned to give each other space," said a music journalist from Rolling Stone Korea. "It's not about always being together. It's about knowing when to step back and when to reach out." The subtle evolution of onstage chemistry even on stage, their growth is visible. In earlier performances, Jungkook often followed Jimin's lead, mirroring his expressions and relying on his stage experience. Now, the dynamic is more reciprocal. Jungkook's confidence anchors the performance, while Jimin's emotional depth elevates it. The result is a synergy that feels effortless, like two artists dancing through mutual understanding rather than choreography alone. One of the most striking examples of this was during BTS's Yet to Come in Busan concert in 2022. When the lights dimmed and the members stood side by side, fans noticed a subtle exchange, a brief glance between Jimin and Jungkook before the chorus hit. It lasted less than a second, but it carried years of trust and partnership. "People talk about our teamwork," Jungkook said afterward, "but honestly, it's not something we plan. It's just us. We've been doing this together for so long that it's natural." Behind closed doors, what growth looks like while the public often sees their lighthearted moments, the evolution of their relationship also involves learning how to handle differences. Both have admitted to having disagreements in the past, especially during the early years when stress and exhaustion ran high. "There were times we clashed," Jimin once confessed. But it wasn't about dislike. It was about caring too much, about wanting things to go well. Jungkook echoed that sentiment later, saying that what keeps them close is the ability to talk things through and respect each other's individuality. As they've matured, that ability to communicate openly has become one of their strengths. Rather than the dramatic highs and lows of youth, their relationship now thrives on quiet understanding. They've learned that closeness doesn't always mean constant interaction. Sometimes it's about giving space, trusting the other person to walk their path, and still knowing they'll meet again at the same point. The public's gaze and private realities being part of BTS means every gesture is magnified. For years, fans have analyzed every look, every laugh, every word exchanged between Jimin and Jungkook. While the attention can be overwhelming, both artists have handled it with grace. Jimin once mentioned in an interview that he's aware of how closely fans watch their interactions, but he chooses not to let it define the friendship. "I think people see what they want to see," he said gently. "But for us, it's just friendship. It's something precious." Jungkook, too, has emphasized the importance of authenticity. "We're like family," he said in a Weverse post. "No matter what others say, I know who Jimin is to me." Their openness, coupled with their refusal to perform their friendship for validation, has made their bond even more meaningful to fans. It's a rare reminder that genuine human connection can exist in the spotlight without losing its sincerity. Looking ahead, a relationship still unfolding as BTS navigates their current chapter, pursuing solo projects while maintaining their group identity. Jimin and Jungkook's evolving dynamic continues to intrigue both fans and industry watchers. Their paths may diverge artistically, but emotionally, their connection seems to remain as strong as ever. When Jungkook held his global promotions for Golden, Jimin's absence from some appearances didn't go unnoticed. Yet later, Jimin was seen sending private support, even visiting quietly during rehearsals. It's that balance between distance and closeness that defines their relationship today. The next decade will likely see both of them evolve further, as artists, as individuals, and as companions in a story that has already transcended music. Whether performing together on stage again or exploring solo worlds, their shared history ensures that the bond remains a part of who they are. One fan wrote on social media after Jungkook's Golden Live on stage, "You can feel Jimin's presence in Jungkook's confidence. And when Jimin performs, you can sense Jungkook's steady energy behind him. That's what it means to grow together." In the end, perhaps the most remarkable thing about Jimin and Jungkook's evolving dynamic is that it mirrors the evolution of BTS itself, from youthful exuberance to mature artistry, from shared dreams to individual authenticity. They've grown not away from each other, but through each other, in every glance, in every note sung together. There's a quiet acknowledgement of the journey they've walked side by side. Two boys who became men under the world's gaze, learning to navigate fame, selfhood, and friendship with grace. Their story isn't about perfection or fan theories. It's about two people who remind us that real connection, like real art, evolves, deepens, and survives the test of time. And as long as BTS continues to write its history, the intertwined story of Jimin and Jungkook will remain one of its most human, heartfelt chapters, an unspoken melody still unfolding, somewhere between brotherhood, artistry, and love in its purest form.